Not all horror starts with screaming. Sometimes it starts with a smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. After the battle at Starcourt and the chaos of the Upside Down spilling into Hawkins again, everyone did their best to move on. Or pretend they had. The town was cracked, but trying to stitch itself back together. School reopened. The halls were quieter, scarred, but still standing. And somehow, through all of it, Rob and Buckley had found something close to peace. Or at least, someone. Vickie. She wasn't what Robin expected. That's probably what made it work. Vickie was soft, curious, a little bit awkward in all the right ways. She'd laugh mid-sentence, get distracted by music notes in her head, and had a weird obsession with movie trailers from the 1950s. She saw through Robin's sarcasm like it was cellophane. And more importantly, she didn't look away. For the first time in what felt like forever, Robin wasn't the one doing all the hiding. They spent late nights in the band room, exchanging mixtapes like love letters. Robin made one called Heartbreaks and Hallucinations. Vickie countered with songs you can cry to in parking lots. They'd walk the empty halls together after school, pretending Hawkins was a ghost town built just for them. But then the static started, not on the radio, inside her. Robin first noticed it when Vickie stopped mid-sentence during lunch. They were talking about a song, some dumb synth track from The Cure, when Vickie's eyes glazed over. She went totally still, not blinking, not breathing, just paused, like a scratched VHS tape. Then she snapped back, blinked rapidly, and laughed it off like nothing happened. Robin let it go, once. The second time, Vickie was humming, softly, barely audible, while doodling on the corner of her notebook. Robin leaned over her shoulder, curious. It wasn't a song she recognized. The tune was off, uneven, and the doodle wasn't hearts or flowers. It was a spiral, a perfect, tight spiral, drawn over and over until the paper nearly tore. Vickie didn't remember drawing it. Robin didn't say anything, but her stomach twisted. Still, it was easy to explain away. Everyone in Hawkins was carrying trauma like a second backpack. Zoning out, nightmares, weird habits, par for the course. Even Robin had her moments. That's what she told herself. Until it happened again. This time in the woods. They were walking behind Hawkins High, near the burned patch where the earth had cracked open during the last gate surge. The government had sealed the rift months ago. Or so they said. But the air still smelled strange there, like wet dirt and melted plastic. Vickie stopped walking. Her breath hitched. Her hands shook. Robin turned to find her staring at the ground, lips moving, whispering something she couldn't quite hear. Then Vickie collapsed. It wasn't a fall exactly. It was like gravity had claimed her all at once. Robin rushed to her side, heart racing. Vickie's eyes were wide, unfocused. Her mouth was moving, but the words didn't sound like English. They weren't even full words, just sounds, wet, broken syllables that made Robin's skin crawl. She screamed Vickie's name until she snapped out of it. Vickie didn't remember any of it. Said she was just dizzy, cold, maybe low blood sugar. Robin nodded, pretending to believe her. But that night, she played back the voice on her tape recorder, the one she used to track band harmonies and school announcements. It had been recording in her bag the whole time. When she played it back, she heard the words clearly. They weren't random. They were the same ones Vecna whispered before his kills. The more Robin tried to make sense of what was happening to Vickie, the more Hawkins began to feel like it was unraveling again. She started keeping a journal, cataloging every incident. When the episodes happened, what Vickie said, how she moved, what the air felt like. It was always the same pattern. Distant eyes, low muttering, and that spiraling tension just beneath the surface. Sometimes Vickie would come back to herself like nothing happened. Other times she'd be confused and shaky for hours, like waking from a nightmare she couldn't remember. Robin stopped sleeping, not out of fear, out of obsession. She needed to understand. Something inside her screamed that this wasn't just about Vickie. This wasn't just trauma or exhaustion. This felt familiar in a way that made her stomach twist. So she called Dustin. He listened, really listened. Then he went quiet. And when he finally spoke, he didn't laugh or offer a joke or try to comfort her with sarcasm. Instead, he asked her one question. Has she been near any of the rift zones? Robin answered before thinking. Yes, more than once. That's when he told her about the concept of psychic echo links, fragments of consciousness that could survive inside the Upside Down, especially from entities as powerful as Vecna. Nancy had read about it in old Hawkins lab files. Like fingerprints, these psychic remnants could cling to the living, especially to those who were emotionally unstable, vulnerable, or highly empathic. Vickie was all three. Robin didn't want to believe it. didn't want to entertain the idea that something might be living inside the girl who made her feel seen. But that night, as they sat in the Wheeler basement, she watched Vickie's reflection flicker in the TV screen. For a moment, it wasn't her face. The shape was right, but the expression wasn't. The smile was too still. The eyes were too hollow. It was only a blink, a trick of light maybe, but Robin didn't think so. She started tracking Vickie's dreams, asked her to write them down, even if they didn't make sense. The pages came back covered in jagged phrases. He's watching. The roots are alive. I can taste the wires. And every so often, in the margin, that same spiral, drawn over and over again. One night, Vickie vanished. No call, no note, just gone. Robin knew exactly where to go. She grabbed her bike and followed the path behind the school, past the old garden shed, through the forest where the leaves never quite regrew after the gate opened. The air was colder there, wet and sharp like copper. She found Vickie near the edge of the abandoned lot behind the Creel house, barefoot, standing in the center of a ring of black vines that hadn't been there the day before. She was humming. That same off-key tune from weeks ago. Robin called her name. No answer. She stepped closer, her heartbeat punching through her ribs. Vickie's head tilted back, her eyes fluttering. Her mouth moved, soft, rhythmic. But the voice that came out was wrong. Too low, too calm. You don't belong here, it said. Not to Robin, to itself. Robin begged her to wake up. Pleaded. She stepped forward and grabbed her shoulders, shaking her, repeating her name like a prayer. And for a second, just one brief, brilliant second, Vickie came back. She blinked. Her face crumbled. Tears welled. Her knees buckled and she collapsed into Robin's arms, sobbing with a kind of grief that had no source. But then her body tensed again, and when she spoke next, it wasn't Vickie. It wasn't even human. I remember you, the voice whispered. You were the one who watched her scream. Robin let go, stumbled backward. Vickie stood up slowly, eyes empty, face slack, like a puppet finding its strings. And that's when Robin knew. This wasn't a possession. It wasn't controlled. This resonated, like an echo bouncing back through time. And Vickie, kind, lonely, beautiful Vickie, was the chamber it was using to come back through. The Creel house had never felt more alive. Robin stood just inside the threshold, her flashlight barely cutting through the darkness. The floorboards groaned beneath her boots, the air thick with mildew, dust, and something else, something heavier than time. The silence wasn't quiet. It hummed like a distant voice pressing against the walls of her mind. She could feel it behind her ears, in the back of her teeth. Whatever was in this house, it already knew she was here. Upstairs, the music box played. That same warped lullaby Vickie had been humming in her sleep for days. A distorted melody from a childhood neither of them remembered. It echoed down the stairwell in slow, dragging notes, each one a call deeper into the dark. Robin took a breath and followed the sound. She found her in the attic. Vickie was standing at the center of the room, her arms loose at her sides, her head tilted back as if caught in prayer. The spiral had been carved into the floorboards around her, thick with soot and ash. Vines crept from the corners of the attic toward her feet, pulsing faintly like veins. The rift behind her, small, jagged, pulsing with sickly red light, cracked the wall open like a wound. For a long time, Robin couldn't move. She just stared. There was still something in Vickie's face that looked like her. The curve of her jaw, the slight tremble of her fingers. But the rest, the stillness, the voice she'd used in the woods, the whispers that sometimes came through the static on the radio, none of that was hers. Robin stepped closer. Vickie, she said, barely more than a whisper. For a moment, there was no response. Then Vickie's head turned, slowly, like it was pulled by a string. Her eyes were pitch black, but she smiled. You came, she said, except it wasn't her voice. It was deeper, older, like someone was using her mouth to mimic speech. She always knew you would. Robin's throat tightened. Every instinct told her to run, but she didn't. She stepped into the spiral, inch by inch, until she was close enough to touch her. I know you're in there, Robin said. I know the real you is still fighting. The smile faltered. Vickie blinked, and for just a second, one breath, her expression shifted. Her lips trembled, her hands clenched, and in her eyes, something flickered. A memory, a heartbeat. The real Vickie surfaced like someone breaking through ice. Robin reached out and pressed her hand against her cheek. Come back to me, she said. You're stronger than this. Tears slipped down Vickie's face, then her body shuddered. She let out a gasp, stumbled back, clutching her head. The vines hissed. The roof behind her pulsed harder, angry, like it was alive. Vickie screamed, a raw, fractured sound that didn't belong in this world. Robin fell to her knees, arms around her, holding her tightly as her body convulsed in pain. And then, silence. Vickie collapsed in her arms, barely breathing, eyes fluttering. Robin held her, rocking her gently, whispering the name over and over again like a song. The light from the rift dimmed. The spiral on the floor went still. They sat there for what felt like forever. Eventually, Robin carried her out of the house. No one saw them leave. No one followed. The town kept breathing, unaware that something ancient had just loosened its grip. For the next few days, Vickie didn't speak. She slept, deeply and without dreams. Robin stayed by her side, watching, waiting, praying that whatever darkness had tried to take her was finally gone. And for a little while, it was. They went back to school, back to walking the halls, sharing playlists, laughing again. The spiral drawings stopped. The sleepwalking ended. Vickie even smiled like herself again, open and crooked and real. But on the fourth night, Robin woke up alone in her room. The tape recorder she kept on her desk, the one she hadn't touched in weeks, had started on its own. And through the static, she heard Vickie's voice, not speaking, whispering. The same words as before, the same ones Vecna used. The voice wasn't cold this time. It was curious. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.